materials I'm going to be using in this fly is red flexifloss, the marabou, red marabou, and also red thread. The hook I'm going to be using is a Camasan B110 grubber. Simply, obviously, put it onto the vise. I like to see a lot of the hook. You can get right in there then, get used to that, but be careful of the point of the hook. Now, I'm simply going to start at the eye of the hook, good half a dozen turns, secure the thread on, take away the waste. Now the marabou is the first thing I tie in. Simply tear off, not a lot, a couple of pinches of it. Just roll it in your fingers and then tidy up the ends. Now you're looking the length of the tail to be the full length of the hook, from the eye to the back of the hook, right there. So when you're tying this on, it should be about that long. And you simply just pinch and whip it on. 1, 2, 3, just to secure it. Take away the waste. Just tidy up. You get your red flexifloss. Just tie it onto the side. Pull it into the thread. And then all I do is bind in these materials using the thread. I want to form a nice head. There we go. Bring the thread right back to that point where you tied the materials in. Now what I'm going to do is to try and keep the profile of the fly quite slim, fine. I'm going to wind all the way down, touch and turns over the top of the marabou. Now the marabou is going to roll slightly. Don't worry about that. If it starts to twist round the hook, just bring it back up. It's actually doing as it's told just now. It's sitting where I want it to be. All the way down, practically in line with the barb of the hook. And then I'm going to rib the flexifloss all the way back up, right towards the thread. And then cross the thread, 2 or 3 turns just to make sure it's secure. And then flexifloss, what it'll do, it will stretch twice its length. So when you're trimming it off, and that says sort of 3 mil long, half of that, and it will stretch the other half, and it should tidy up. It should be, once you do touch and turns right towards the eye, it should disappear. Get used to the material. It's a modern material. You need the modern tying techniques to tie these materials in. Keep the pressure on the thread, and then whip finish. There we go. Now I'm going to use some super glue. This is going to actually secure the whole fly. It will last a lot longer, and what you'll get is a nice, obviously glossy shine off it, and the fly will actually go like translucent. The light will pass right through it, the sun will pass right through it. It'll certainly throw the red that you're looking for in the bloodworm, and that's the bloodworm. For my next fly is I'm going to be tying the pheasant tail nymph, and the materials I'm going to be using obviously is a pheasant tail, but this one's been dyed lime green. As you can see, there's many colours you can buy pheasant tails, bleached and dyed, and pheasant tail is very good for representing buzzers. It's one of my favourite materials. Slight difference in, I'm going to be tying this fly actually with copper wire, fine, very fine copper wire, and it pays to actually use a ceramic bobbin holder. It doesn't snap as easy with the metal one. There's a wee bit of, I would say, grinding when you're winding. Those are the right terms to use. But the ceramic is ideal for that. Now the hook I'm going to be using is Camasan B110, again the grubber. It's a size 10, and with the wire, like normal if you're using thread, start at the eye of the hook and then start to wind down. Now wind the wire the length of the thorax, which is this area here. You're looking at probably a third of the body length of the fly, and then what you do is get a pheasant tail, just straighten up the points. You must importantly straighten up the points. It's much easier to do that from the feather Now you want about a good half a dozen to 8 fibres. There's a point straightened up, simply tear it off. Now what I do is offer it to the side of the hook, do one turn, and then I start to pull the fibres to that turn, and then I do another one and another one. Winding these turns out as you go round the bend, all the way around, right all the way down. Take your time to that point there, and then bring your wire back up. Don't worry about them being spaced out, because wire to wire, meaning the hook to this wire, they'll slip unless you use an adhesive, like when you use the super glue. Just simply put it on, all the way up, right to the eye, don't worry about it. Now, I wind this way when I'm winding threads on, but when I'm putting on harrow, like pheasant tail, I wind it on the actual opposite way. So I'm winding the opposite way, all the way up, spreading the material as you go, keep going. Don't worry if one or two break, don't worry about that, just keep going. Right to the beginning of the thorax. Bring it right up onto the top. Now you're going to bring the bobbin hold around the back of the vise. Go once, twice, leave it there. Simply pull up, that's too long there, so just bring it up, make it more comfortable for you to hold. And then, using the spare piece of wire as your rib, bring it up through, all the way up, right to the beginning of your thorax. Bring your wire along the back, tie it down, and then encourage the material to lie on the top. And then wind right down towards the eye, right to the eye itself. And then, using the wire, just build up the thorax. The thorax shapes is normally around about like an egg type shape, but don't go crazy. Just an impression of that shape is as good than overdoing it. At the same time, I'm actually adding weight to the fly, and personally that's what helps this fly to work extremely well. Now you can see just there as a broken fibre. Take that out, there your scissors, just snip it away. Okay, tidy it up. Now I've finished that off at the back of the thorax here. Now I'm actually going to tie off there as well. Just simply fold back the fibres, this is going to give you your impression of a thorax cover. Just flatten it down with your nail. Do one turn, then hold. Keep the pressure on the wire, and then get your whip finishing tool. Come up, go 1, 2, 3, pull it. Now you can trim all this away. Now you leave maybe about a millimetre, 2 millimetres of material hanging at the back. That will give you an impression of wing buds, and gives you the shape of the buzzer. And then all we have to do then, get some varnish. Don't use super glue here, use some varnish. Again, it's on a brush. I like using brush. I find it much easier to spread the varnish out, and if there's any excess you can actually wipe it back off. Right round the thorax area. There we go. And that's the green pheasant tail. For my next fly, I'm going to be tying a quilled dowelback. And then the materials I'm going to be using in the fly is the peacock eye, and this one's been dyed flame, very hot orange, and I'm going to be using some fibres off these feathers. It's a Chinese cape, dyed again, the same colour, flame, and the thread I'm going to be using, that's off the same colour, it's a Glow Bright floss. I actually got it on the bobbin. And this is number 5. The hook I'm going to be using is a Camasan B110 size 10. So onto the vise, shoot it sitting level. Just simply start at the eye of the hook, wind down, nice layer of thread. You can control the tons of thread by you keeping this on just now, this waste piece of thread, right to the point where you want to tie in your tail. And you can either break it off or trim it away with the scissors. Tidy it up slightly. There we go. Now I prefer to use these side feathers. They're very strong fibres in these feathers, and I just simply pull one out from the side. Now, the best of the feather is at the top, so I don't really want this stuff down here. Just simply pull it away, tear it off, throw it in the bin, or throw it on the floor. Don't tell the wife. And simply all you have to do is, like I did with the pheasant tail earlier on, to line the points up, you just simply bring them straight out from the stem, and they'll naturally sort of level out themselves. And once they're level or straight there, you just simply tear them off. There we go. Tail, length of the body. So that goes into your finger and thumb of your left hand. Just offer it right on the top, pinch and loop. Get it on. Just check it's okay. There's a wee bit of hair there, so I'm going to go back just to check that. Just push it out the road. You'll get this in tying flies, don't worry about it. Secure it in out the road. Again, just back on. Couple of turns, make sure it's not going to roll. Just have a look, that's fine. Now, you want to have a level body, and this will help as a good measure. And what you do is simply trim full length of the body there. Just leave it just now, it's a couple of turns, that'll hold it. Now the eye, the quill side is there, as you see the colour. It's a lovely colour, that's what you're looking for. Now I trim right in close to the eye, because that's the material I'm looking for. There you are, it's got the colour on it. I simply tear it off. Now you're looking for the coloured side, or the edge, or the leading edge to the ceiling is going to be without the herald. The herald's at the bottom, and you'll see why. You just simply tie it onto the side, touching turns, wind up, binding in the hackle fibres. Just watch if they don't twist out the road. Just keep going. There we go. Important that you keep this level, because the materials will sit better for you. There we are. Now, this is quite a weak material. Now, do you need to protect this, or if you're going to catch a few fish on it, obviously it needs to last a wee bit longer than maybe 1 or 2 fish. Now, you simply put a layer of super glue onto the body. Now, don't overdo it, you don't want it to seep right into the fibres. And you just tie right over the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up. Gives you a lovely segmented body. Just simply bring it across the thread, right up. Concentrate on tying that in. Turns right down towards the eye. You really don't need the scissors, you can break it off. Need a good half dozen turns or so to do that, and then bring the thread back up. There we go. And then, again, this is going to be a false hackle. Just simply, again, line up the points, tear it off. This is going to be right underneath. The length you want is probably the length of the body. Now, once you've got the length you want, just sit it underneath, bring your finger and thumb of your left hand underneath, hold these points. Now, I'm actually going to pinch and loop up the way. You just simply bring the thread into your fingers, hold it, bring it up, and slowly bring it through, and secure that turn in a couple of turns. Just encourage it to lay the way you want. Just have a quick look, see it's sitting okay, that's fine. And then trim away the excess. Just make sure the thread's out your road before you do that. And then build up your head. And then we finish. And trim it off. There we are. Just to finish the fly, again, some varnish. At this point, don't worry too much about filling the eye full of varnish. You can clear it out with a dubbing needle all the way around. Get a dubbing needle up. Clear out the eye. And there we are. For my next fly, I'm going to be tying the Duckfly pattern. The black early season versions are very good. The Duckfly pattern is a style, it's just a matter of changing the colours to suit obviously the type of buzzer it's coming off. But early season, black and red is extremely good, they're very good. The materials I'm going to be using is a Chinese black cockgate, some red seal's fur, and an optional material if you want is the jungle cock. And my rib's going to be silver wire. Silver wire. The thread I feel is very important. And the fly, the size I'm going to be tying is a size 10. I'm going to be using quite a heavy thread, a 3/0 thread. This is going to be the colour of the body, and I'm using the thread for that. And the hook I'm going to be using is the Camisand B110. So onto the vise we go. I simply start at the eye of the hook, wind the length of the thorax, it's about there, trim away the waist, and at this point I actually tie in the rib. The reason I do that is to try and keep the profile of the fly very fine, thin, which buzzers are, and as you see, using the 8/0 thread, it covers really quick, all the way around, touch and turns, and all the way back up. Right to the beginning of the thorax. We stop there, and then we bring the silver rib up, all the way up, to get in line with the thread. Simply bring it across, bind it in, back up just now, and then simply just bend till it breaks, like that. The seal's fur. Now some people struggle with seal's fur, feel it's quite stiff, quite strong material. Now I feel if you put it in your finger and thumb and then just simply roll it and keep rolling it to end up with a ball. It's like something you would probably find in your belly button. Maybe not that colour, but that sort of shape anyway. And then you simply offer it to your thread and then start to spin it onto the thread using your finger and thumb, and it will go in very easy. When you displace the fibres, they tangle easier, you can catch them much easier. Material fibres going straight is quite hard to actually push onto the thread, so if you displace it and rub it in your finger and thumb, you'll find it dubs much easier. And then using the seal's fur, just build up the thorax, go up and down. Thorax shape again should be a nice egg type shape. Any fibres going forward, I just pull them back and do a turn of thread just to lock them out of the road. So we check to see it's sitting okay. Yep. Now, as I said, the option material is the jungle cock. And you need 2 small eyes. And there we go. 2 obviously the same size. Now what I do is line both the eyes up, just like that. Hold what material I want to be on the fly in my finger and thumb, and pull back what I don't want. Just pull it out of the road. Just check that they're lined up again, make sure they're okay, that's fine. Then I just simply offer it, one either side of the fly. Just make sure you do it right before you start to tie them in. There we go. Hold it nice and tight, pinch and loop. At this point, 3 or 4 turns just to hold. Right, one's sitting up a wee bit, all you have to do is just simply bring it down, encourage it to where you want it to sit, just hold it, and come in with nice 2 or 3 tight turns. Not encourage the material to sit where you want. Now, I tuck these fibres back, I tuck them in, and just simply all you have to do is pull the back out of the road, bring the thread right over the top. Without using scissors, you can actually break these off. Maybe one doesn't want to break off. Just keep going. If it's not going to break off there, just keep a hold of the thread, trim away the waste. And then you want your cock hackle, dyed black. Just simply pull away the underfur out of the road. Just the good side or the shiny side facing yourself. hold it to the side of the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Trim away the waste. Now I fold the hackle, and I like to do it on the fly itself. Well, some people fold hackles off the fly, but I find it's much easier. And all you do is bring it through your finger and thumb, like that. There you go. Nothing easier than that. And then it's not much more than 2 turns. So there's 1, 2 turns of hackle. Just simply bring it across the thread, bring the thread up on the top, tie these in. Okay, take hackle pliers off, keep the pressure on the thread. Now what I do again, I tuck these back, pull everything back away from the eye, sure everything's out the road, and then bring in your thread, tying these down. Now keep the pressure on the thread, it's important that you do that. This thread especially is very springy and it'll pull back slightly like an elastic band, so just keep a hold of it and then whip finish. Trim away the thread, trim away the hackle point, and then get your varnish again with the brush. Just varnish the eye, right over the top. Got a lot of control over how much varnish you put on with the wee brush. And don't worry if you fill the eye. As I said, get your dubbing needle, simply clean out the eye. This will save you doing it on the bank when you're fishing. And there we are. That's a duckfly. For my next fly I'm going to be tying the Klinkhamer. It's a very important fly, especially if you're wanting a fly to represent the emergence stage of the buzzer. And the materials I'm going to be using is, this is a saddle cape, cock cape. It's a greenmose. The dubbing, it's going to be hare's ear dubbing. And there we are. And the rib is going to be crystal flash. An excellent material, can be used in wings as well as being used as a rib in this case. And hook, now I'm going to be using quite a heavy hook. Now if you're going to, it's a Kamasan B110, it's a heavy side, and there's a lighter version of the same hook. If you're going to cast a fly out there and hope like it's going to sit there all day, that you want the lighter hook. But for the heavier hook, or for casting to fish that are your covering or rising fish, I feel that the heavy hook corrects the fly, puts it in the right position straight away. So this is why I recommend the 110. And my thread's going to be a uni thread, 8/0, quite a fine hook, thread, sorry. And it's just as usual, start at the eye of the hook, layer a thread, length of the thorax, trim away the waste. Now that's your measurement for your length of your thorax. Now what you do to form the wing of the Klinkhamer, you just bring the thread back halfway to this point there, and you get your antron wool. This is going to represent your wing and the post for your hackle. Just simply bring it the underside of the hook, hold it, finger thumb, nice and tight, 2 or 3 turns on that side, a couple of turns on that, and then you want to post the wing just to secure it just now. Take away the excess, take out the road. Now you're going to post the hackle and the wing together. Just take away what you don't need, simply break it off. Get the hackle in. Get it sitting right. Do 1 turn at the back just to hold it, and then bring the thread round again, and then start to bring the thread right up the wing, posting the hackle and the wing together at the same time. And then come back down. Bring the thread at the back, secure in the point of the hackle, trim away the waste. Now your rib is the crystal flash. This is a single strand when pulled out and then doubled, and just simply offer it to the side of the hook, pull it into that turn of thread, and then wind down all the way right round the bend. Doesn't have to be touching turns to that point there. And then get your dubbing, your hare's ear dubbing. There we are. Just take off what you need. Again, like I did before, just roll it on your finger and thumb, displace the fibres to end up with a small lump or a ball of, in this case, hare's ear. Just offer it to the thread, nice and fine, spread it out to that point there, and then you simply slide it up to the hook. Bring the thread up. First turn to secure it in, you can tighten it up at this point simply by just twisting the dubbing on the thread and then wind up, forming your body all the way up to the beginning of the thorax to that point there, and then bring your rib up through a good 5-6 turns all the way up, keep going to get this point, bring it across your thread and secure it in and trim away the waste. Again, back to our dubbing, just a small pinch of dubbing, and roll it again into your fingers, offer it to the thread. It's going to form your thorax, and just tidy up this part here, round about your wing. Just simply wind right down to the wing itself, come in front, nice and tight. There we go, and just have a check, see it looks fine. Looks good. And then into actually winding the hackle on. Now you just simply start winding round at the top. Oops, roll one. The next turn should be underneath that turn there. And the next one. And the next one. Keep going till you get enough hackle in there to float the fly. And at this point, when you're happy with it, again, have a quick look. Just pull everything back out the road. Set up the hackle point, keep it forward of the eye. Now you're going to use these two fingers here. You simply bring these over and hold the hackle for a second and bring the thread up, locking that in. Secure in that hackle. Still keeping a hold of the wing and the hackle out the road. Then bring this back and you tuck it in. Again, pull everything back and then bring your thread up, tying in your hackle. Keep the pressure on the thread. Forget everything just now. Come in with your whip finisher. And then whip finish this in, tie it off, trim away the thread, your hackle, pull everything back, just check it's laying right, just have a look, that's fine, just pull this back. Now I usually trim it right in line with the bend of the hook there, the length of your wing, trim it there. That's your Klinkhamer. Now all you've got to do now is just varnish the head. Again, pull the material out the road, get in there with a brush, varnish the head. Don't worry about what I said earlier on, just if you fill the eye up full of varnish, just get in with your dubbing needle, clean it out, just leave it for a second, and that's you. And that's your Klinkhamer. For my final fly, I'm going to be trying a Claret Hopper, a dry fly representing the buzzer, and it's a very popular colour. It does really well. It's one of those colours that I would recommend you'd have in your box. And the materials I'm going to be using is a Chinese Cape dyed claret, pheasant tail again dyed claret. The rib's going to be a red holographic rib. This is a medium tinsel. Body material, claret again. And my thread is a Danvers 6/0, and it's a nice claret as well. The hook is going to be a Camisan B160, which is a short shank, wide gape. It's a medium wire hook. It's ideal for dry flies, and it's quite strong. Now I'm going to, as usual, start at the eye of the hook Just put a layer of thread right down, all the way is in line with the barb there. Simply trim away the waste. At this point, tie in my rib, my holographic tinsel. Just at that point there, a couple of turns, just to secure, just lie it back out the road. And then I want some dubbing. I want to try and keep the body quite fine, don't want it too heavy, and I want the rib especially to actually sit into the material, into the seal's fur. Again, just like I did before, just roll it into your finger and thumb and dub it on. You see, it dubs on very easy. Just slide it up, get that one turn in to lock it, and then just tighten up as you go, twisting the dubbing onto the thread, stops it flying off. Just keep doing that all the way up to that point there, and then bring your rib up through. Go once, twice, 3, 4 times. Bring it in front of the thread, secure it in, and trim away the waste. Now I like to use at this point a bit of Velcro, which is on a lollipop stick. Sticky back stuff, you can buy it in any of the shops, the dressmaking shops. You just simply make sure the thread's out the road. If you're on that side, just rough it up. Again, bring the thread out the road, underneath, and just pull it back. And now I've prepared the legs, pulled them off the pheasant tail, and then put a single knot, which will give an impression of the legs. And I like to actually spread them out before I tie them in. Now there's 6 there. I'll not count them, the fish will not. It's up to yourself how many you want to put in. But 6 is the average. Line them up, get them sitting where you want before you tie them in. There we go. So bring your finger and thumb in, hold them, pinch and loop 2 or 3 turns just to secure them on the top. I prefer them on the top than the underside. And then I just bring up the waist, trim them away, and before I do anything else, bind these ends in, and then come back up. Now I've got a feather already off the cape. Just simply take away what you don't need. So offer it to the side, tie it down, all the way right to the eye. Bring it up and trim. Now get your hackle pliers. Just put it onto the hackle. Now you can wind it straight away right onto the top of your thread. Just encouraging the fibres to stay up. Don't pull them back too much. You can pull back any fibres going forward with the eye. You're stroking it back with your finger and thumb, and then do a turn. And you keep going right to the eye, to that point there, and then you simply bring it across your thread. Bring your thread up, keeping the pressure onto the hackle pliers. A good 3 or 4 turns, and like I did before, just let that go. Anything going forward with the eye, pull it back. Now I'm going to tuck in the hackle with the thread, secure it back out the road. Keep the thread tight, don't let it go till you tie off. 1, 2, 3. Take the thread away, point the hackle away, and all we have to do then is just to varnish the head of the fly, again using the brush, all the way around. Clean out the eye. Just keep going until it's clear. There we go. And that's your Claret Hopper.